Hi! Hello! Happy nearly 2024, friends. It's Levels Plus Whenever, episode 89. And there's a lot going on in this episode. Technically, there's like 4 things happening. And so it's a bit of a behemoth. But I've got 5 waves of pickups. Because December just had so much stuff happen. And then we're going to be doing predictions, recapping 2023's, what's 2024, doing dual life perspective for the year, and then my 5 most anticipated games for 2024 as of right now. So, because it's already over an hour, let's just get into the pickups. I am not 100% sure where the pickup situation is going to be, so there might be a few different wardrobe changes by the time this video goes up. But I have gotten some new things, so we'll start with what I'll just refer to as Wave 1 pickup. So I have this, which is a Japanese-only game by Goodfeel, who made Kirby's Epic Yarn, Yoshi's Woolly World, Yoshi's Crafted World. But more importantly, in relation to this, they were some of the original N64 Goemon team from Konami. This is Fairy Tale's Bakul the Raccoon Dog Oracle Matsuri Taro Sorrows. A very literal translation of its title. It's very possible this will not get translated. Goodfeel has apparently said that they made this game for Japan, and it has a lot of very specific stuff in there. But, you know, I wanted to go ahead and give it a shot because it looked really good. I also got the Metroid Dread Samus Figma figure, and I had a lot of fun yesterday kind of playing around with poses. At the moment, this is where she has settled, but this figure is amazing, which I wasn't too surprised. So she's kind of hanging out by her other M armor, I guess. I forget what the other Samus I have is. And then I also got my copy of Develop 3 in, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Flipped through it today. It's got really good photos in it. I'm really happy with how the quality of the photos looks. They look better than the other 2 developed books in my opinion, probably because they're all new. But I'm very happy with it, and the Finn Memorial gets me every time. Alright, well, there's more. Stuff will follow. Alright, Wave 2. And I'm getting a little annoyed at DHL because they keep delivering my Japan orders to the wrong house. So I had to go out in the rain and pick this one up. But I think it was worth it. It is the Taito LD Game Collection Deluxe Edition. It's got all kinds of stuff on the inside. I've taken the wrapper off. Let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? So I've got codes here for some bonus features, including Time Gal Rebirth. I won't share those because they're codes. And here, there's the standee of Reika, as well as the posters and how to make the standee stand. It came with a book of concept art of the games and a strategy guide on how to beat it, which is kind of cool. But here is a quick shot of the inside. That was actually one of the big reasons I wanted to go for it. And then, you know, they did a pretty good job on the packaging all the way through. Then I've got a Blu-ray of all of the games without the commands, just the animation itself. More cool packaging. And then the Switch game itself. I have heard absolutely nothing on the localization of this, but, you know, hopefully Strictly Limited in will get around to doing an announcement, but I just didn't want to wait. Wave 3 has hit. I got Ruby and a Short Hike from Super Rare. They had a really good Black Friday sale, and I wanted to get both of those games physically because they're on my top 111. I would love to have physical versions of all my favorite games. So getting them both for like $60 with shipping was really a really good deal. A Short Hike has an instruction manual, and it came with a map. And Ruby has a manual and a couple playing cards that randomly came with it. Alright, Wave 4. It's fun doing these because it's at completely different times each time I do them. I got some stuff from my Nintendo, so I got their 2023 ornament. It's a sheet of metal printed with Mario stuff. It turned out pretty well. And then I also got the Xenoblade 3 coasters. Which basically just have all of the characters paired together. That was pretty cool. Alright, Wave 5. Different background, different hat. It's like December's just been so much variety. I got my Egret 2 Mini Arcade Memories Volume 2 in the mail. Hopefully we'll not get things delivered to the other address again. Had a nice talk with the driver. It comes with the Taito Station magazine, which is pretty cool. And this box, which, you know, I'm not going to keep the box. But, that's it. That's all of the pickups. So now let's go into the rest of the content of this video. So, always like to make predictions. So I got my list of 2023 predictions here. Gonna go through, see how well I did, and then we'll have a little intermission and we'll jump into what I think is gonna happen in 2024. Alright? So, Metroid Prime 4 for real? No. Switch NSO gets Game Boy Advance. I was right. That did happen. A mainline Mario game. That also happened with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Switch successor. Well, there's been lots of rumors and there's been lots of talk, but Nintendo themselves haven't said anything concrete yet. So I'm going to say that's a no on that one. Switch Wind Waker Twilight Princess coming to the Switch. They're still not doing that. Surprise collab with indie studio F-Zero? Well, I got the F-Zero part right with 99, but that was done by NST. There wasn't a surprise Nintendo collab with an indie dev this year, so that's a big nope. Advance Wars finally comes out. It did. Splatoon 3 gets surprisingly massive DLC. Well, we know that that's likely, but no, it got pushed to spring of next year. Perfect Dark Jet Force Gemini Blast Core on the N64 NSO. Well, I got 1 out of 3 right. Jet Force Gemini is coming... Well, at the time I'm recording this, is coming out in December. But Blast Core and Perfect Dark are still MIA. But Nintendo is releasing a 18-plus version of the N64 app. It's out in Japan already. It's coming out in Australia, it sounds like. So maybe Perfect Dark can happen after all. Square Enix joins NSO. That's still going to be a pipe dream. Capcom vs. SNK collaboration of any kind. That didn't happen really either. So, my RE4 prediction here was for Ada's DLC, because it seemed pretty likely that Separate Ways was going to be its own thing. that the entire island was going to be in the DLC, which was wrong. It's in Leon's campaign just as much as it is in Ada's. But I guess in a weird way, I was right. A lot of the fancy island-specific stuff is in Ada's campaign, so... Konami comps continue to impress. They didn't release anything this year outside of Metal Gear Solid, which didn't impress as much as I think the prior collabs had done with M2 on Castlevania Advanced Collection and Anniversary, and Contra Anniversary, alongside Ninja Turtles with Digital Eclipse, and Arcade with Hamster. Suikoden was delayed to next year. It looks fantastic. And there's a Felix the Cat collection that has been rated by the ESRB that'll probably be announced sometime in the nearish future. Which, you know, I've heard good things about that game on the NES, but that's certainly not what I would expect. But, yeah, otherwise, Konami's been... They didn't hit it out of the park with Metal Gear Solid. I'll just say that. Symphony of the Night to Switch. No. No, that's still a fantasy. Pocky and Rocky 1-2 reprint. That did not happen. Pocky and Rocky Reshrine did make it to Steam though. Taito Arcade Memories Volume 2. That did happen. Haven't gotten it yet, but that did happen. Skies of Arcadia HD. Boy, I love wishing for that every year. And I'll get to do it for one more. Namada Studio update. Well, we got that. We got Neva, which is probably my most anticipated game coming out next year. Chrono Trigger to consoles. Tango Project's fourth game is Shadow of the Ninja. But a huge update. That is definitely the case. It looks like it's a pretty dramatic reinvention of the game. And that's another game I'm really looking forward to in 2024. Another arcade titan will release a mini arcade unit. To my knowledge, this didn't happen. Alright, and that's everything that I guessed for 2023. I actually think I did a little bit better than 50%, which is pretty good. I will take that as a W, because you'll never get 100% of these. So, above 50% is pretty solid. Take a little break, and then a future version of myself will get into what I think will be happening in 2024. Alright, as I promised, different wardrobe. Here's the predictions for 2024. Just wrote them up. I think the Switch 2 is going to be a thing. It's going to be announced. I don't think it's going to be out until 2025, though. But I do think this is the year that Nintendo shares whatever the Switch 2 is. Gives us an idea of what to expect. I'm not going to get into details of what that all translates to, like backwards compatibility or not, NSO or not. I don't want to get into that. I think Metroid Prime 4 will finally be shown, probably in connection with that announcement, but it will finally be debuted after so long. I think there's a chance that Nintendo's been working with WayForward on a new Advance Wars, and that's probably one of the major reasons why what came out in 2023 wasn't really all that different than what was planned for 2022. I don't know the sales. It's possible that this is the most out there, not going to happen guess that I have on this entire list. But I think it's definitely conceivable that all that work that was put into Reboot Camp was going to be utilized to help push a new game out the window. I think there will be a new Fire Emblem remake remaster project announced in 2024. I don't think it's going to be an entirely new game. The fact that we have 2 full brand new games on the Switch already, I don't think that's likely, but I think a remake remaster is a nice kind of send-off. It's kind of like what they did with the 3DS. I think Zelda, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess are finally coming, because there's going to be some gap. I also think that Xenoblade Chronicles X is going to get remastered. I don't think they're going to release a 4th Xenoblade on the Switch. That's got to be a system seller for the next system. I think NSO is going to get a new console this year, but it's going to be another third-party one. It's going to be the TurboGrafx 16. I feel pretty good about this given Konami's willingness to make that happen on the Wii U so late. So I think that's going to be the big, expansion pack console classic thing that's going to happen this year. I don't think we're going to get GameCube or Wii or DS or 3DS. I think Nintendo's basically done with what they can produce until the next system comes out in terms of new consoles. The last Nintendo thing I got is Mario Kart's DLC is done. What random old game can get DLC out of nowhere? I think it's Super Mario Party. I think that there's enough of a install base to justify releasing new boards and possibly new mini games and new characters into Super Mario Party. That's my guess of all of the random DLC announcements that could happen this year. I think it's Super Mario Party. I have 3 Capcom predictions. I don't feel great about any of them. Save one, but I don't think it's going to be this year. Capcom vs. SNK compilation. Still want that to happen. Was one of my most wanted things to happen in 2023. Did not happen. I think that we might see it in 2024. I also want to see a Capcom console stadium. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I want a compilation done like the arcade stadiums, but for Capcom's console releases. So I want my Bionic Commando on the NES and the Game Boy. I want my Gargoyle's Quest on the Game Boy and Gargoyle's Quest 2 on the NES and Demon's Crest on the Super Nintendo. I would even go up to like PS1. So like original classic Resident Evil and Dino Crisis, stuff like that. Anything that was released on a home console that isn't like a perfect one-to-one port to something that's in the arcade, so that rules out a lot of the Street Fighters. That is something I think would be really worthwhile. And I also would understand if Mega Man didn't appear on that because of the compilations that exist for that. But I'm thinking NES, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx 16, Genesis, include Game Boy, possibly Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and possibly PS1 if the RE engine can handle emulating a 3D PS1 game. That would be great. And then they can do 2 of them. I would love that. That would make my day. The last Capcom one is there's going to be another Resident Evil game announced. I want Code Veronica. I want a Code Veronica remake so bad because I think that Claire deserves it. I think that the story that they set up with the way 4 ends could lead to Code Veronica, then to 5. I think it does set Wesker up for his role in Code Veronica if they wish to include that in the canon still. That's the question. So I hope there's a remake of Code Veronica announced. I suspect they're going to skip it and they're going to move to 5. And we're not going to see anything in Resident Evil 9 for a little bit yet. But I think another remake's going to come in between. That's my feeling. I want Konami to release the DS Castlevanias. Release them from that handheld prison. Pair it with the Adventure Rebirth. And make a lot of people happy. If you don't want to release it with the Adventure Rebirth, release all the Rebirth games as a trio. Get Contra, Gradius, and Adventure Rebirth into a trio as its own thing. That's fine. I think the 3DS games would stand just fine on their own. If they want to throw something in there, they could throw Chronicles or something. I also want Symphony of the Night, goddammit. I'm okay with Rondo of Blood not being there, because if they do the TurboGrafx 16 thing, that is a very logical thing to slot right in. But Symphony of the Night off of PS4, please, Konami. Skies of Arcadia HD. I've been wearing this shirt through all of this recording to get to that. And with all of the retro revivals that they just announced at the Game Awards, I think it's possible now. I think it's conceivable to see an HD remaster of Skies of Arcadia. It could even be remade, which would just blow my mind. Taito will announce an Arcade Memories 3 because apparently the survey results were even in more demand than number 2's was. So I think that there is a very strong chance we will see Volume 3 of Arcade Memories announced probably in August with 10 more games to add to your eGrid. Shadow of the Ninja turns out to be an amazing remake of the NES game, and Tango Project doesn't rest on its laurels and announces what the 5th game will be. We won't know what it fully is, but they'll say we're working on it towards the end of the year at some point. Square Enix, you cowards, release Chrono Trigger. Free Chrono Trigger. Let it be on Switch, PS4, PS5, and Xbox. Just do it! I also want Ogre Battle Reborn, but I want it to be the Super Nintendo game first, and I don't want the visuals to be smudgy. I want them to do something like what they did with Star Ocean or with the HD 2D thing that they're doing. Please don't release another smudgy-ass attempt at HDing the sprites so they look authentic. No, that Tactics Ogre, in contrast to Star Ocean, looks like ass. Please give it the same level of attention. Alright, the rest of these are Fighter Pass DLC guesses. For Street Fighter 6 second season, I want to see Makoto and Elena from Street Fighter 3. I want to see Sea Viper from Street Fighter 4. And I want to see Zaki from Rival Schools. Let's go! I would love to see Akira jump into 6, but I think because she's in 5, I don't think that's going to happen. So if she can't be there, why not have the really cool Yakuza ninja lady? A Season 3 for King of Fighters 15 has not been announced, but in case they do, and it's the same size as 2, I want to see Oswald, Mei Li, Che Lim, Shion, Foxy, Moe Habana, and Wolfgang Krauser as the boss. And then for Guilty Gear Strive to wrap up their Season 3, I think Jam needs to be brought back as well as Slayer. Alright, I didn't write this one down. But I think the last thing that I want to see in 2024 is something Smash. Because Smash is great. Smash is fun. Apparently it's the 25th anniversary of the series in 2024. And they're going to start releasing new spirits next year. So could it possibly be that there will be something more than the N64 game getting on NSO and spirits coming into Ultimate? I'd like to think so. I'd like to hope so. I'm not going to say that is happening, but I'm going to hope. I would love to see more Smash stuff come to Ultimate. Or what's next for the series. That would also be good too. Alright, that's it for predictions. Let's move on to Dual Life Perspective. It's Dual Life Perspective time. This was a year. Let me tell you what. The easily the biggest thing that happened to me in 2023 was Finn. I don't think I got too deep into it here. I don't want to get too deep into it now. I'm just going to say that losing Finn was one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make. And I still miss him very much. It's hard to believe he's been gone for like 8 months now. By the time this video probably goes up. Yeah. Flavia's doing pretty good. I think she's come to grips by now for the most part. Clearly I'm still going through it a little bit. I've got a couple tears going. Trying not to get too emotional talking about it, but it's still hard. It's still just like there's a hole in me, you know? I lost part of my family. So that was definitely the thing about 2023 that I will carry with me for the rest of my life, probably. I feel like 2023 has also been the year that I really just started feeling like I'm my true self. It sounds funny to say that, but it's been the pull of narcissism is so strong, and it took until last year for me to be free from its influence from anybody in my life. And now that is the case, like I'm finally being able to like understand my empathy, understanding my own desire, my own interests, my own passions, and working on trying to be less of a perfectionist, letting things go when they're not perfect. That is certainly a challenge sometimes, especially when it comes to the books. You probably have noticed I have 2 copies of Isolate behind me. The one that has Julia facing is the original version that I sent to Amazon to print. The one with Celeste facing out is actually a slightly revised one because I caught some continuity issues. But I am getting better on letting things be. And I'm trying to carry that philosophy of not stressing out about everything. I have a lot of anxiety. I've realized over the last couple of years. So I'm working on that. Work's going good. I have a wonderful team. I really enjoy the dynamic right now. It was really rough around this time last year. There was a lot of change, and not all of it was intentional or desired change. But this year, despite still going through some settling of personnel, it's been much better. And I feel a really good connection with all my coworkers, which is great. I really am happy about that. Creatively, I published 3 books. The Limited Editions Club book was my most successful book to date. I think I'm pretty close to 20 total copies sold at this point, which is It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is for me. Then Isolate, which is probably the book I'm most proud of out of all of them. It took 20 years to get it out, so I clearly have a lot invested in it. I've been working a little bit on its next volume, but nothing too deep yet. And then Develop 3. Which will I think I'm going to take a break from a photo book for 2024. I might do something different. For the Thanksgiving book. Don't know if I've even talked about that on here. I do Thanksgiving books. That just became a thing in 2020, and it's been a thing ever since. I feel like I've been putting out some of my best art, not just in Isolate, but just in other areas. There's a piece that I contributed to a doshinji on Taito that I'm very excited about. I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to share that more publicly, but it is definitely among my best pieces of fan art that I've ever done. And I had a lot of fun with the hair, and you'll see when you get to see it. I've got some more books on the ground in terms of design. Femtendo 87 is basically where it needs to be. There's like one game I need to get to photograph for it, and I need to get a lot of it written. There's a lot of articles to write in it. So that should be next year. And then I'm starting the Early History of Women in Video Games book. I've got a nice design. So that's going, and then I'm going to start at some point working on Culture Clash's revised book name, which will be, I think it's Trials in Localizations or Translations. Trials and Translations is what I think I ended up calling it. And I haven't decided how big it's going to be yet. I've got plenty of material for a book, but I probably have enough material for 2 that I've already written before I have to write too much more. And they'll be revised, of course. I wrote those several years ago, and there's some development information that's come out on quite a few games lately from the NES Famicom days. I have made some really awesome friends this year. I'm not going to name them in this video, but you know who you are if you watch, and I so appreciate you. I still have a absolutely wonderful social network that already pre-existed, and now I'm just building on it and making it even better. I really appreciate all of my friends. They are wonderful, wonderful people that really inspire me to be my best self, and I get to help them be their best selves, and we just have a wonderful time together. So I'm really appreciative of not being in a space where I feel like I'm by myself. That's really helpful for my brain. I feel like my house is getting where I want it to be. I'm about to pay off my car, so that's going to be great. That's going to really help me with being able to do more with what I want instead of really feeling like I'm just skating by. I do have a raise that's retroactive to July eventually hitting at some point, and then there will be another raise this upcoming year, and then I get put into a STEPS program, so that will be cool to see where I land there. And that's what I've got in my head. This is the first time I've done just a singular 12-month year in a while. I've been splitting them into 2 parts for years now. So trying to remember all 12 months is difficult for me to pull up. But I think I hit the major things that I wanted to really touch on. You know, there's certainly stuff I could get into on political stuff and what's going on in the game industry and all that, and I just don't really want to go into it this year, and that's fine. It's all good. So for the the virtual part of my life. I got through 34 games asterisk. I played Resident Evil 4 Remake 3 times, and I'm in the middle of a 4th run. I played through Resident Evil 2 Remake technically 4 times. Leon Claire, then Claire Leon. And then I played Mega Man 3 twice in 2 different formats, and Resident Evil 4 twice in 2 different formats. So yeah, there's some caveats on that 34, but it's all right. We'll go through this chronologically, like I always do. I've got decent memories of most of this stuff, so I also did the awards video before this, so that kind of helped refresh my brain on a couple of these. So in January, I got through the original Resident Evil 4 once again. And I wanted to play that since the remake was coming out. I didn't have a PS5 at that point. I guess the PS5 could have been in the real, but it's a game thing. It's still a really good game. It's still brilliant. It's still a wonderful, iconic game that really defined that generation and the action in 3D space genre for decades to come. It's a really solid game still. In hindsight, after playing through RE4 Remake so close in the same year, I definitely see RE4 Remake as the superior game at this stage, and it's almost primarily because of how RE4 Remake handles its characters. And I really think that the changes that they made to just about everybody in this game is an improvement. The only character that I miss really from RE4 Classic is Sadler. I miss his quips. He's a very serious cult leader in the remake. So he doesn't really joke around, but that's okay. I think it works in the context of what they were going for with RE4 Remake. But it's still a wonderful game. It did fall off my top 111. That's because I just feel so strongly about RE4 Remake being the better game that I couldn't... It's hard for me to justify having 2 versions of the same game on the list. So that's basically what happened there. February, I beat Fire Emblem Engage, and I've talked a lot about Engage on Levels Plus Whenever. So I won't get too deep into it, especially because in the awards I went off on a nice little rant about it. So what I will say is that gameplay, phenomenal. Great graphic style. The soundtrack is solid. Not the best, but solid, especially when it comes to the rearrangements. There's some good characters in this that deserve to be in a better game in terms of the narrative. The story is terrible. It's not very engaging. I keep doing that. But it's solid. And the gameplay really carries it. So it didn't end up in my top 111. It didn't end up winning any major awards outside of Best Song and Biggest Disappointment. So, and that's because of the story. Three Houses made me love the story of a Fire Emblem game. And made me bond with those characters so deeply that it hurt not being able to do that in Engage. And that's basically why I don't feel as strong about it as I do some of the other entries in the series. In March, I was busy. I got through 4 games. I got through SCAT, which is an NES shoot-'em-up by Natsume. It's probably Natsume's best original game on the system, in my opinion. Shadow the Ninja is alright, but it just feels a little clunky in contrast to some of its more fluid counterparts in that action genre. And I haven't played Abenox to really have an opinion on that. And then there's a whole bunch of Famicom exclusive stuff that I haven't touched. I haven't played Shatterhand, which technically is not an original game. It was a Japanese licensed property originally. And there's a couple others that I'm not remembering, but I think it's a good shoot 'em up. It's got, especially when you can rewind, especially with that rewind function. So yeah, you should check it out on Nintendo Switch Online if you like the genre. Apparently, I was still in the mood for a little bit more shoot 'em up action, so I got through Thunder Force AC, which is the arcade version of Thunder Force 3. And I liked it, but not as much as I love Thunder Force 4. I think 4 is the better of the two that are traditional shoot 'em ups on the system. Thunder Force 2 is very different. But 3 and 4 are horizontal shoot 'em ups that are really, really good. 3 is great. I recommend the AC because it's got kids mode and save states and all that. Versus trying to get it through... actually, I don't know if there is another way to get it currently. Outside of getting a Genesis Mini or a Mega Drive Mini 2. I don't remember which one has 3. Ninja Jojamaru Giga Daisakutsen is the 5th Ninja Jojamaru game, the last on the Famicom. It's very Mario 3-like, but outside of like visual aesthetics, there's not a whole lot of comparison. It just reminds me of Mario 3, but through a Jalico lens. It's a good game outside of some really rough parts, and that's why it ended up being the hardest game on my list, on my awards, because it had 2 parts that were just absolute nightmares to get through. I think they were both platforming related, and they just weren't fun. They were not enjoyable to try to like thread this needle of platforming with the controls not being as tight as like Mario, for example. But it's pretty good. I haven't played the 2 RPGs yet, and I haven't played the actual second Ninja Jojamaru game. I played the first. But it's probably, of the 3 that are more platformy, arcadey experiences, the best of those. Would I put it in a top 100 NES game list? Probably not. But it's good. It's not a bad game at all, outside of really challenging and annoying parts. The Last Blade 2. I usually play with Kojiro or a Setsuna. Is it Setsuna? But I played with Akari this time, and it was a lot of fun. She's a really cool character, being like a spirit medium sort, summoning and capturing demons. It's a really cool concept that they have with her. And she was a lot of fun, and that game's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite fighting games of all time. So it was fun revisiting it with a different character for once. April, I got through 2 games. Fantastic Night Dreams Cotton Reboot, which is a cute 'em up in the venerable Cotton series, which is probably one of the premier cute 'em ups behind like Twin Bee and Fantasy Zone. And it's great. It's a really good game. I played it on easy, and it's very colorful. It's got a good bop and soundtrack. I really do wish that the series didn't have so many bikini fairies everywhere. It really is. It's such a weird aesthetic choice because Cotton is not like sexualized in any way. And she's like super empowered and goofy and a good, like a fun character. And then her sidekicks are these bikini fairies. It's just so weird. Despite that, though, I really enjoyed the game, and I got a couple more Cotton games to try out. And as part of the Shoot 'em Up Festival series I'll be doing next year. And then we come to the Fire Emblem Engage Fail Xenologue. The worst game I played this year. Oh. All of the narrative issues I had with Engage are like magnified so much more in the Fail Xenologue, and they came up with the absolute worst Fire Emblem character ever. Since this is, I'll not spoil it here, but it's in the awards. It's in the video I recorded about Engage. So if you want to know more, just go listen to those. But, oof. What a rough experience. What a tragic decline in quality. it's actually something I put on my bottom games of all time list. It's that bad. It's that bad. May, I played Tears of the Kingdom and didn't get anywhere close to finishing it. So in June, I beat 3 games. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Absolutely love that game. It's in my top 10. It's brilliant. It's delightful. It's wonderful. The awards show commentary was probably harsh because I was really trying to explain why it's not my game of the year. Outside of buying a PlayStation 5. But it is one of Nintendo's finest efforts ever. Even with my nitpicks knocking it from the game of the year. I think it's better than Breath of the Wild, which was a top 5 game for a little while. I recalibrated things in my list. So it's number 7, I think now. Tears of the Kingdom is anyway. Breath of the Wild I took off the list, or at least pushed it down quite a ways off of the top 50, I want to say. I don't quite remember where I slotted it after all that. But it's a really, really great game, and I wrote a really nice article about how it helped me heal, along with Breath of the Wild, that I'm really proud of. So I'm super jazzed about Tears of the Kingdom still. And then I played through Mega Man 3 on the NES and the Genesis, and I recorded a video on that for the Levels Plus Plays sub-series that I occasionally do. I'd like to try to do that a little bit more in 2024. I'm thinking about doing an RE4 remake, honestly. But the NES game is still one I love. The Genesis one was one that I'm glad I experienced, but I have no interest in playing it again. And I will let the 2 videos that I did, the Levels Plus Plays and the awards, explain why, just to keep this a little bit on the shorter side. July, I got through River City Girls 2, which was nice. I had been waiting to get into that game for a while, and it got patched up and ran pretty well finally on the Switch. So it's better. It's a better game than RCG1 on just about every level. The only thing that I don't really like about RCG2 is the secret rooms. They're terrible, and the boss fights can sometimes still cross into that annoying factor. But on the whole, I am so happy that it's a better game. And I wrote a review on it even. So I'll put a link to that in the description. August, I was busy. I got through 5 games. So I played through Street Fighter Alpha as Guy. So this is original Alpha, not Alpha 2 or Alpha 3. Original Alpha. I don't remember why. But I do have a fondness for Street Fighter Alpha. I played that a lot when I was younger, when my parents went to Nevada. And I played as Guy. And I actually, now that I have much more of a concrete sense of how to use him, thanks to learning how to play these games properly, I had a really good time with it. And I don't remember what my difficulty was. I didn't write it down. But Street Fighter Alpha may be the roughest of that series, but it still holds a place in my heart as something really special. I like the look of it. I think it's a fun, if incomplete, game that Alpha 2 would revise and revamp and make even better, and then Alpha 3 would come along and just be one of my absolute favorite fighting games of all time. So then I played Block Block, which is absolutely random after Street Fighter Alpha. But I guess I wanted a little bit of Arkanoid action without plugging the E-Grid in, so I played Block Block on beginner and just got my fill and was happy to sign off after that. And then Street Fighter 6, my first PlayStation 5 game. I finally got a hold of that thing and put it through its paces with all of the fighting games I've been acquiring. Street Fighter 6 clearly is the winner of them all. It's in my top 30. I think it's a spectacular game. I go into it quite a bit in my award show, so I will refrain from doing too much here. But just, I love Street Fighter 6, and I'm so excited to be in a great place with the franchise again. I've missed it so much. A King of Fighters 15. I need to play this a ton more than I have. But I like it. I can say that. I can't say that I love it. I can't say that I'm enthralled by it. It probably didn't help that it came right after Street Fighter 6. But I am happy that Isla is fun and as cool as her design is when you play as her. I don't know if she's a character I like playing a ton. I need to experiment some more. But I've got plenty of time, and now I've got all the Season 2 characters to kind of look into whenever I decide to devote some time to it. And then Guilty Gear Strive, another wonderful fighting game. I got through it with Giovanna on normal, and there's a couple DLC characters I need to get for Season 3, but I've got all of Season 1, I got Bridget at Season 2, and I don't care about anybody else in Season 2. So, but I think Johnny and Elfelt, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Elfelt especially, I am so excited about playing. So I'll be playing Guilty Gear Strive next year to get a little bit more into its systems and learning a couple other characters. September, I played Transaruby. I got 98% of the items. There was one or two I just couldn't find, and since it's an indie game that's not as hugely popular as something like Hollow Knight, there's not a lot of help for it, especially in text, which that would be more what I would prefer than watching a big long video trying to go, where did I miss an item? So I'm happy with the 98%. I think it's a wonderful game, to the point that I actually ordered a physical copy from Super Rare, since they were the distributor of the physical. And it's my surprise of the year. I really like Transaruby a lot. And then we have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It was on sale. I got all the stuff for it, at least that I want, so I have all the characters, and you know, I played the story mode. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I needed to unlock things. I do get into it in the disappointment video, so I'm not going to do it here, or the awards video under disappointments. But there will probably be a video on Infinite specifically next year sometime, because I want to talk about MVC and why that game failed so spectacularly. October, I played Resident Evil 4 3 times. The remake, I should say. I wanted to wait for October to kind of get into the mood. So I played through it 4 times. And then I played Separate Ways as well. And it's my game of the year, so I will let the game of the year, a part of the awards, handle that. Plus, I just got done talking about it in its own separate video. I don't think I need to belabor the point here that I love that game. I'm literally playing it now after talking about it at the awards show. And the Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I got all of the Wonder Seeds outside of the Special World ones. Because I wasn't that interested in doing hard platforming. What a wonderful game that is. It didn't quite hit any awards this year, so I'll talk about it a bit. It's fun, it's creative, it's exciting. It's what I've wanted a 2D Mario to be since Mario 3, and it's taken this long to get there. I don't really like Mario World all that much. I really didn't like the aesthetic for New Super Mario Brothers. I thought it was very bland and dull. Like, all of the fun got ironed out in the process, even though the games are fun. It just doesn't look fun. It doesn't strike me as inspiring, interesting, something to invest in, you know? But Wonder looks great, and it has creative level design, and the Wonder Seeds make things really fascinating. And you can play as multiple characters, including 3 women for the first time in a Mario platformer ever. I don't even know if Super Mario or Super Mario Bros. Run got that much. They might have, but in terms of a console game, it's the most Nintendo's ever put into one. So I played through it as Daisy, and it was a delight to play all the way through as probably my favorite princess, honestly, of the three. But it's just a great game. And it just came out in a year with so many other bangers that it just got shoved into a corner. For me, at least. So I didn't really get to talk about it at all, despite having a really good soundtrack, an amazing visual style, which is something I don't give an award for, and maybe I should reconsider that. And then, like, Game of the Year is just like Capcom was firing on all cylinders, and then Zelda was just phenomenal. So, still really great game. It would be my number 4 if I actually covered it. November, I got through the rest of the Resident Evil games that I had on the PS5. So I played through Resident Evil 2 4 times, then 3, and then Village. And I talked a lot about 2, 3, and 4 in that video about them. So I'm going to not do that here. And I talk a little bit about 3 in the award show, and a little bit about 2 in the award show. So I'll talk about Village, because Village wasn't in the awards at all. Village is good, but it is definitely missing something, and it's interesting protagonist. I love Leon and Claire, and I like Jill. I have nothing for Ethan except disdain and apathy. I don't care about his story beyond 7. I think in 7, it was perfectly fine to have this faceless, uninteresting character go through a hell house. It was really interesting then. But to give him a sequel where he's suddenly in RE4 but not doesn't make any sense to me. Everything about the story in Village is just like, I don't understand. Outside of Rosemary. Rosemary's great. I'm looking forward to going through her campaign next year. By the time I got through Village, I was a little bit RE'd out, especially in the Village dynamic. But it is great. It is just such a good time. And in terms of gameplay and stuff, it's just, I could care less about Ethan. And I don't really think Mother Miranda's a great villain either. And everything about her and Mia is weird. Chris really feels shoehorned in, and this entire game could have been resolved before I got started if Chris just talked to Ethan. So I have even more ammunition for Chris Redfield being among my least favorite characters in a video game, thanks to Village. But in terms of gameplay, it's pretty good. It's not my favorite. I still think 4 is my favorite by a long shot, but I think Village is fun and engaging. But it definitely is not as good as RE4 or RE2 Remake. It is better than RE3 Remake. I will say that. And we are now in December, and I got King of Fighters 13 Global Match. I played through the arcade mode. The game's a lot of fun. I don't care for the visual aesthetic all that much in 12 or 13. And there's some questionable backgrounds. A couple of them are so questionable, I would even go as far to say there's some potentially racist backgrounds in this game, and it makes me uncomfortable when those stages come up. So, like, visually, it's not my thing. It also changed Leona's outfit to a sports bra and pants, which her original outfit was iconic, and I'm so glad that 15 made that a DLC option. I don't like her new look. But I was actually having a lot of fun playing as Leona in King of Fighters 13. And it plays great. I could see why people like it so much. But I just have issues with how it looks. So I will keep it for now, and I'll probably play through it some more and see if the gameplay is enough for me to continue wanting to hold on to it. But, you know, that was kind of why I never got it when it first came out, was it just, the visual aesthetic of that game just doesn't hook me. I think 15 looks much better. Super Mario RPG. That's a really great remake, and that's another one that kind of got like put into the corner in a year of incredibly great games. And then it got dwarfed by Metroid Prime Remastered when I was really thinking about when I was doing my new remaster remake list. But it is extraordinarily good. It is a perfect up-res of the 16-bit game. It has all the stuff that you want brought over. I was very happy to see that Link and Samus were still there. And they were very well done. And it's just great. It's just a great experience. And I can finally say I beat it. I'm so happy that I can say that I beat that game. So yeah, that is also it's got such a great remix soundtrack. I do need to say that before I walk away from it. Yoko Shimomura put in so much heart and soul into these new versions of these iconic tracks. Just really well done. DuckTales 2. I talk about it in the award show as a kind of mediocre sequel. I'll just let that sit here. And then Metroid Prime Remastered, which I do get to talk about in the award show because it literally snuck in right before I recorded it. That is, in a year of really strong remakes and remasters of games, Metroid Prime Remastered really stands out. And that says something, because there's been some extraordinary efforts in that coming out this year. I can at least personally say that Star Ocean, the second story R, looks incredible. Super Mario RPG is incredible. And then, Pikmin 1 and 2 had really good HD remasters as well. And there's a couple others that aren't immediately leaping to mind because I didn't play them. So, but it wasn't a quiet year for like high quality examples of that. But Metroid Prime Remastered just rolled right in and said, "Hey, remember us? We were a really good GameCube game with some of the best visuals on that system. How about we become one of the best visuals on the Switch too, and still be, for the most part, a really great game that has aged extremely well for the majority of its content." So, bam. What a wonderful way to end the year outside of playing RE4 Remake. All right, that's Dual Life Perspective for you. We'll have a little break, and then we're going to roll into my most wanted games for 2024 that actually exist. All right. So, my most anticipated games of 2024. There's so much I don't know, and almost everything that I gathered my list up on is like early. Except for this one, I think. This one is not early. This is Neva by Nomada Studio and Devolver Digital. I have been waiting for years for what Nomada was going to do after Greece. And I am so excited about what this game is going to be. We haven't seen the gameplay yet. I did go through all of Devolver's holiday special to kind of see if there was anything at all about Neva. But it's going to probably be something that they show again, I'm going to guess, at the next Devolver Digital event in June. For release in the latter half of the year. And we'll probably see what it actually is like gameplay-wise. But, this is definitely a different game than Greece. It's still dealing with heavy emotions. It's dealing with loss. But it definitely has a vibe that it's going to be more action-y. So I'm very curious what this is going to translate to. But it is gorgeous. And I will spend all of the money on a special reserve version of this game without question, because Greece was that amazing. It's a top 5 game for me. So Neva is what I am most excited about in 2024, and I just am dying to know more about this game to kind of get a sense of where it's going and what it's going to be all about. Because clearly it's got some feels going on with it.
The day before my 14th birthday.
Another code recollection. I still am stunned this is happening, and it's coming out January. I have the demo. I will probably consider playing the demo in the nearish future. But to see Sing's games brought back to life in full 3D with a lot of care and attention. Like, this is not a cheaply done remaster remake of these DS games. This has some money put into it to make it look really nice. And that's really awesome, because I think that Sing's work deserves this level of attention and care. And I am very intrigued to play these and experience both of these games, particularly the Wii one, since that never got localized for American audiences. It's just weird to think that in less than a month I'll be playing this. Another surprise. Vanilleware's take on Ogre Battle. I am so excited. I just cannot believe that this is happening. It's like this is like a dream combination almost for me. I've wanted an Ogre Battle style game forever. And Tactics Ogre Reborn is a tactical game. Ogre Battle is different. It is a different vibe in terms of how it handles combat, how it handles characterization, how it handles class. And there's been nothing that really has scratched that itch since Ogre Battle 64 for me. And here we are with Vanillaware visuals being top line 2D artwork with, you know, the caveats of it being a Vanillaware game and how it handles women characters. But some of them are not cheesecake, which I appreciate. But this is like dream game level for me. I can't believe this is happening. I'm watching this trailer again, despite knowing that it's been coming for about 7 months, 4 months, I don't even remember. But just like, bam, Unicorn Overlord. The Ogre Battle spiritual successor I never knew I wanted to come from Vanillaware. And after everything I've heard about 13 Sentinels being a phenomenal game in terms of story and narrative, despite my own inability to want to play it because I just can't handle how it undresses its characters to be in the mech suits. As I said, Vanillaware. I have a feeling there won't be anything of that nature in this game. And everything I've been reading about it, everything I've seen about it since this announcement trailer just has me pumped beyond belief for it. So, I can't wait. I would have never guessed Sunsoft would come back with a Kirby Epic Yarn take on its Hebroneki series. Or better known in America as Euphoria the Saga. This is charming as all get out. I think it looks gorgeous, stunning to look at. I am hoping that the Sunsoft of today can make a gameplay experience that is as solid as this art style looks. That is my hope, that they can pull it off. But I'm willing to give it a shot to see if they can. So, I am pumped about this game. I love how it's coming across visually. It's technically a new game, but it definitely has a lot of vibes of the original one. And I can't wait to play it. I am so excited to give this game a proper playthrough and, you know, continue celebrating the renaissance of Sunsoft returning to game development after so long away. I hope this is good, because it looks like it's going to be a great time. And last but not least is Demon's School, the Persona game that has no attachment to the license. I am very intrigued by this game, and it's got a neat tactical angle to it in terms of how the combat works, but just visually it's so striking, and the characterization has that social element that I really like in Three Houses, in Persona games. I'm really pumped about how this game's going to play. I hope it plays as cool as it looks, and like the battle system's got a lot of interesting stuff going on with it. You kind of have to plot out where everybody's going to move before you then execute everything. So it makes it kind of cinematic, and you can do team ups and stuff. It's just really cool looking. I'm very excited about this game, and I hope it's as good as it looks. I really do. That is my top 5 most anticipated games for 2024. I am pumped for all of these games, and there's a whole bunch more that I just couldn't immediately think of, but these were the 5 when I was looking through the list of what's confirmed for 2024. That's like, yeah, these are the ones. All right, this has been a long video covering a lot of different things, but thank you for joining me on this basic end of 2023 what I'm excited about in 2024 overview, plus all of the pickups. My goodness, that was a lot of pickups. All right, well, I wish you a very happy beginning to your 2024, and I will see you again in the new year. I get this backwards all the time. Take care.